So with all this wall-to-wall rugby, whether you look Premiership, URC, Top 14, am I getting fatigued with it at all? After watching, I've lost count of how many games I've seen today already. No, I'm not getting fatigued in any way, shape or form. And here are my thoughts, having watched Connacht against Stormers in the URC. Connacht, who really, realistically, had to win to give themselves a chance of progressing next week, 2 weekends' time in the final round of matches. And the Stormers, who were looking like they could sew up a guaranteed quarter-final spot, and then maybe hope some other results go their way so they give themselves a shot at a home quarter-final. But there you go. In Connacht, in Galway, a tough place to go. It finished, spoiler alert, Connacht 12, the Stormers 16. And realistically, the Connacht are done now. They are done. There's too many things out of their hands, and they've got to go to Leinster in their final game in 2 weeks' time. So, night, Connacht. Stormers, meanwhile, depending on how the match goes between Leinster at Ulster, they could be in a position where they cannot go any lower than 5th, and they cannot go any higher than 5th, which would mean they could rest up some players in their final match against Lions. So I guess that's a question. If that is the case, and if that is how the URC table looks, should they rest up? I don't know. I suppose you've got 2 weeks now until the quarter-final, until the final round of games, but then you are into quarter-final, semi-final, and if you get there, final. So I don't know. What should Stormers' approach be? Again, this is dependent on the result in Belfast between Ulster and Leinster. I'll have a video on that coming up in due course as well. But let's focus on this one then. 16 points to 12, a win for the Stormers. Hard fought, a really scrappy win. Lots of handling errors, difficult conditions. There was a bit of rain coming down at times. The wind was up. It's been a gorgeous day where I am in Manchester. But yeah, that's the west of England. West of Ireland, a little bit different. And that's one of the reasons the conditions always make it a tricky place to go. And let's not forget, Stormers historically have not had a good record on the road in Europe, but they're starting to build a little bit of form every time they head away, and that's going to build the confidence and the muscle memory so that when they do come to a game, if they have to travel away to Europe in the quarter-final, maybe going to Glasgow now, with the results the way they've panned out, it was all looking like it was going to be, and it still may be, Stormers from Cape Town travelling to the Bulls of Pretoria in that North v South South African derby match. That would have been very spicy, and it still may happen. But if it ends up being Glasgow, perhaps, then wins like this should and will give the Stormers confidence. On that side, how did they win this game? Well, do you know what? Over the last 2 games, Marnie Lebock has been 11 from 11 from the tee, and I mean, that's championship form right there from the boot. And when you think back to the Rugby World Cup and all the narratives that have surrounded Marnie Lebock, how good is it to see a team in which Marnie Lebock is in winning a narrow fixture because of his kicking, not in spite of his kicking. And yeah, and that's we had good Marnie Lebock today, and he's building some form there, and gonna be giving the Springbok selectors a bit of a headache because, I mean, I've been watching a lot of the Premiership this season. Hondre Pollard, Clutch King, has not been playing as well as he has done in previous years for his team, Leicester Tigers. So that's going to be a subject to debate in the coming weeks, isn't it? But another player who was outside of the World Cup squad, looking in and would have been wanting to be there and now will be motivated to get into the Springbok squad, I have to say for the Stormers, how good was Evan Roos? He was an absolute beast, wearing 6 in this match, which I talked about in the preview. I thought that was quite an interesting selection. Everyone's been thinking about him as number 8. Quite often you see him with a 7 on his back in the traditional blindside flanker role. Obviously, South Africans wear the open side flanker wears 6. Quite interesting to see him there. He was just all action, an absolute beast. And one of the things that I was most impressed by watching Evan Roos was the moment where maybe last year, he would have reacted and pushed someone and maybe risked giving away a penalty or a yellow card or something. And he just went, all right, I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to walk away. And I just thought that showed a level of maturity. That showed the mindset of someone that has recognised the mistakes he's made and is absolutely focused on the green and gold jersey. And I thought that's a great thing for the Stormers. So tell me what you think in the comments down below. Lebock 10, Evan Lewis in the back row or in the squad. I would imagine he's going to be in the squad. Beast of a man, and did very, very well. As I say, Galway, a tough place to go, and building up some confidence on the road. And I mean, attack stuttered for both teams, but that's no bad place to be, is it? Your attack not really firing, but winning games away from home. As for Connacht, let's just talk about them for a minute. It's tough, isn't it? They are battlers, Connacht. I don't want to be patronising because they should be demanding more from their team. However, yes, they've got Finlay Bealham. Yes, they've got Bundy Aki, Matt Hansen not available, obviously. They've got other good players, Jack Carty and all the rest of it. But I don't know what Connacht fans would expect given the resources and the players that they have. It's a tough one. They're never going to be one of the top teams. They would have been hoping for a top 8 finish, and that's evaded them now. And for the Irish provinces at the minute, it's a little bit feast and famine. You know, Ulster are having their issues, Connacht are having their issues, although those are on the pitch. They've got redevelopment plans for the ground, looks really good. And obviously Munster and Leinster are flying, but I don't know. Just, is it resources, Connacht fans, or is it the coaching and how the team's set up? Because it just looked a little bit predictable to me. Just giving the ball to Bundy Aki all the time and expecting him to just do something magical gets a bit predictable. You need to have a variety of threats. I just don't think they had that. On the flip side, Stormers, I mean, it wasn't free-flowing. I mean, Connacht scored 2 tries to Stormers 1. 1 try in the first half, 7-3 at half-time to Connacht, and then it was Angelo Davids with the try in the second half. Forward pass, by the way, there was some conjecture about that. Benefit of the doubt to the attacking team. And like I say, it was the penalties from Marnie Lebock which brought the victory home. But let's talk about some players for the Stormers then. Damien Willemser is just class. He's just a classy player. Just a Rolls Royce of a man. Just he makes the really complicated things look really easy. Marnie Lebock, already talked about him. Janchis, I've talked about Evan Roos as well, but Janchis as well. So someone that's been around the Springbok camp for a while. I was talking about Morne van den Berg earlier for the Lions. And I don't know. I think Ambrose Papier's had a decent season. I don't know. Is it time to look elsewhere beyond Janchis for me? I don't want to be unkind to the guy, but I think Matt van den Berg, for example, excites me far more. What I will say on the flip side is someone who's been criticised for some of his technical ability in Joseph Dweber. His arrows were really good. Has he spied an opportunity? What with the injury to Malcolm Marks and some question marks over the 2 shirt, and obviously Dion Ferree being injured, and we don't know what his future is, but there's an opportunity there for someone in the hooker position. There's a lot of competition, a lot of contenders, but Joseph Dweber, his arrows, which has often been the criticism, they were really good in, at times, difficult conditions. So there's some positives. But really, there's not a massive amount to talk about in terms of the actual game itself. Lots of errors, tense, tight. But I think it's the psychological element of today, which is the important one. Going away to Galway and winning a tight, nervy, error-strewn, scrappy match is exactly what the Stormers wouldn't have done in years gone by. And it's showing the development. I mean, obviously, they've won the tournament before, but travelling to Europe's always been a bit of an issue for them, but they seem to be getting over that just in time for the playoffs. Against the Lions in 2 weeks' time, that should be interesting. Again, I'll come back to that question I asked at the start. If they're in a position where they can't go any higher than 5th and they can't go any lower than 5th, should the Stormers rest some players? Let me know. Leave your comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe. See you on the next one. The rugby keeps coming.